Carlos Ramirez, owner of NVS Audio in Roselle, New Jersey. So I've had a few people ask me why I always recommend the Hertz SX Neo 165 for a drop-in fit for the Harley. It's our go-to speaker if the customer wants zero modification, something that's weatherproof, something that's going to play loud with no distortion. There's a ton of other speakers that we use, but depending on what the customer's needs, we have different recommendations. But the Hertz speaker is one of the only speakers that we carry that has a tweeter in it that's weatherproof, that goes into the Harley pods without modification, especially if you have an Ultra or a bike that has tour pack pods. This speaker drops in with no spacers, no adapters, no nothing. People don't realize how much money Hertz has spent in research and development to build these speakers for Harley, for Harley motorcycles. Because what people don't realize is most of these speakers are just car speakers that have been adapted to work on motorcycle. This has been engineered from the ground up specifically for Harley Davidson, and I'll prove it to you. So what a lot of people don't realize, and I talk about phasing all the time, phase is super important because it's very easy to wire speaker out of phase, especially on a Harley, because everybody's used to the fat terminal on the speaker being positive and the skinny terminal being negative. Harley does it the opposite way. With Harley, you could see that the black terminal is the fatter one and the white terminal is the skinnier one. So on Harley, it's reversed. But if you pay attention to the color code, pink black is negative and pink is positive. And this is on all Harleys, and this is on the brake side speaker pod. So you have to be careful of the orientation. So you can see there, the side with the red wire is positive and the terminal is much smaller. So if you're not paying attention and you grab your aftermarket speaker, you're going to plug it in backwards, and then the front speaker's going to be out of phase with the back speakers. So what Hertz did is they gave you two size choices on the terminals. So we have a positive that's wide and a positive that's skinny. We have a negative that's wide and a negative that's skinny. They did it on purpose so that way if you're plugging into the factory Harley plug and you don't want to cut your plugs, you can do it and put the skinnier one on the positive side, which is the opposite of most speaker manufacturers. So we're going to go ahead and plug negative to the wide terminal and the positive to the skinny terminal. See, that plugs right in. Another thing people don't realize, every time we put an aftermarket speaker in the pods, we have to grind that little nub off, because that nub is right there on the flange of the Harley speaker. You could tell where it's at because it's halfway between the two screw holes, and it doesn't have it on the bottom, only on the top. Well, guess what the Hertz speaker has? The Hertz speaker has that spot right there, halfway between the two bolts on the top. So the Hertz speaker literally lines up and sits into the flange and sits perfect and has a gasket. The speaker is literally designed to go in there. No heating, no cutting of the pod, fits the factory connectors, is keyed to go into the flange. The speaker is designed to go there. That is why it is our #1 choice for drop-in fit. The amount of time and money Hertz spent in the little small details that matter. You can use your factory Harley screws to put the speaker in. What more do you want? That's about as plug and play as you can get. So fits in front fairings, fits in stock Harley lowers, and it fits in the pods. For the Ultras, it fits in the tour pack pods. No modification, drop and fit. Now one more little hint. Okay, the only issue when using the Hertz speaker is it doesn't come with grills. So if you're doing fairing, it's a non-issue, but if you're doing lowers, it's really hard to find a grill that fits really good in the lower and looks factory. We use these Metro grills. They look just like the CVO lower grills, and they're made, it's a hard plastic ring with a heavy duty metal mesh. Part number on this grill is BC-SPG. Love these grills. We order them 20 at a time because we go through them a lot. It fits perfectly on the Hertz speaker. And then if you're doing, because the problem with using, especially on the lowers, we see a lot of times customers come in with lowers with one grill missing, and the reason that is most of the grills, the mount goes under the speaker, then you drop the speaker and screw it in, and then the grill presses in. At highway speeds, the wind is going to blow that grill right off, and it's happened to us in the past. And then that's why we started using the Metro grill, because the Metro grill actually, it's got an inset, so the speaker sits in. See, it sits in there. Then the speaker and the grill bolt into the lower fairing, so there's no chance of the grill coming off. Same thing with the speaker pods on the side. It's a nice heavy duty grill, so you don't have to where if you put excessive force, you're going to crush it. But you can put a good amount of force without deforming the grills. If you're using an entry-level grill like the ones that come with the speakers for free, it's going to get crushed or it's going to fall off. Okay, so when you're doing a set of lowers, it's held in by bolts. Now, what we used to do is use grills that came with other speakers, and then you have to remember this speaker has been out for less than a year, so everybody had to try and use a different solution. And the Hertz Malay Pro grills, those work really well if you use the bottom piece without the top mesh, because the top mesh is pressed in, but the bottom piece, the plastic part, actually screwed in. So now the problem with these is you cup it under the speaker, you put it in the lower, you screw it in, and then this grill press fits in place. Now it comes with some gummy dum-dum that you can put on the edges, or you could silicone it, but then siliconing it, sometimes it oozes over the edge, or then if the speaker fails, or if you have to go in there, then you have to pry it out and you end up bending the grill. But look how easily this grill falls out. So without some sort of adhesive, the grill's just not going to stay on there. Plus, on top of that, the grill is a very thin material that bends easily. So, any press, you put your foot on it, the grill quickly, easily deforms. So it's not really a great solution. Whenever we've tried this on tour pack pods, as soon as the rear passenger gets in and leans on it, it crushes the center of the grill, and then the grill just looks terrible. This is a much sturdier, much heavier duty grill. You can bend it if you grill it and put a bunch of force on it, but it's a thicker steel, so it's a lot sturdier than that. And I think it just looks better, because to me this grill's a little too open. You can see right through it. To me that looks better. So, and it gives you a factory look and feel, and the grills are only $30 a set, might even be cheaper. I think retail's $30 a set. So we include this in all our builds. So that's why we like the Hertz speaker so much, and the Metro grill just complements it, and they work beautifully together. So I want to thank the guys at Hertz for spending so much time to make sure that our job was easier, and then we had something to offer a client that sounded good, performed well, handles a really good amount of power, has great frequency response, and weatherproof, and it's really a drop-in fit. Like literally no grinding, no cutting. There is absolute zero alterations to the bike to get this speaker to drop in. That's why as soon as a client tells me I want something that's weatherproof and I want no modification to my pods, I want it to just drop in, Hertz all day, every day. So part number on these is the SX165 Neo in the SPL show line from Hertz. Okay, so this is the back of the Harley speaker. This is the positive, and you notice how much smaller it is than the negative. So the negative is wide, the positive is narrow. Most standard car audio speakers, negative, narrow, positive, wide. Or they do it this way, positive and negative both the same width. Hertz in the SPL Show Neo gave you the option. So we have the wide positive and the smaller negative if you want to do a car audio style, and then over here they flipped it to give you the narrow positive and the wide negative Harley style. So the Harley positive skinny would get plugged in here, and the fat negative would get plugged in here. Little things that make a difference. Also a really good size difference. A lot of people don't realize, but the factory speaker that comes in the non-boom audio bikes is not a 6-inch. It's actually a 5-inch speaker with a 6.5-inch flange. Look how wide that flange is. So even if the speakers had equal output, the fact that this has a larger cone will make it louder. They're both neo-magnet, but the Hertz has a much larger neo-magnet, so it's way more powerful. I don't know if you can see through there, but huge difference in the voice coil. Tiny ass voice coil, much larger voice coil. Much better speaker in every way, and it's one of the only speakers that we sell that you could actually drop it in without adding an amplifier, and it'll give you a huge improvement in sound. Most of the other stuff we sell, you have to use a pretty big amp for. So